Bring up the screen, you can see if you can bring up the screen. We're getting started. Today we're gonna be doing. What are we doing today? Today we're gonna be doing question 9. Hey, today's the second to last day in the series, tomorrow's the final day. We'll be doing vectors and matrices. So we're gonna do question. If you go on to slide 2, you'll see a sample of the question. That's circle geometry. So we're gonna get as much of the circle geometry as we can done. So that's gonna be nice. But let me just go back to the slide one day and watch that first important piece of news there. Ghosty Pun. So the series, this is a basketball thing that we're talking about, right? So those of you who don't watch basketball or don't know anything about this, I could just close the eye for 2 minutes, right? But we have to do some necessary things here right now. So it's a best of 7 series. And I think it went Lakers win 1, Golden State 1, then Lakers win 1, and then Lakers win 1 again. And if they win 1 more, they was going to win. But the game last night, Golden State win, and Ghosty Pun was assuring me that Lakers had it. Lakers in 5. So Ghosty Pun, I ain't seen it. When is time? Anytime they lost. Anytime Lakers lost, Ghosty Pun invisible in the chat. Ghosty Pun is just watch, he don't comment. But when they win, he's the first comment. But anyhow, that Ghosty Pun on the wall. Let me see if I can draw a little Ghosty Pun for lady, right? And he is sad because they lost. I love me by Ghosty Pun. So Ghosty Pun. Last time when Warriors lost, I kept my end of the bargain and I smoked out myself. So this time, well, yeah, they don't smoke out. Virtual smoke out for Ghosty Pun. Love and blessings. All right, so now that we get that important business out of the way, we can get some maths inside of here done. The next game is on Friday, so I have the 12-hour crash course on Saturday, and Ghosty Pun win a seat in the 12-hour crash course. So Ghosty Pun will be there. So I don't know what's going to happen on Friday. Friday is going to be the hardest game ever because they'll be playing in LA, Lakers home. All right, well, let me go. Let me go to the next one. Number 9A. The diagram below not drawn to scale shows a circle where 2 lines intersect at the point C. The points A, B, D, and E lie in the circumference of the circle. Note that triangle BDE is a right-angled triangle. All right, so let's put that in one time. That looks like a good thing to do. And BD is the diameter of the circle. Well, okay, we didn't even need to say that. They could just say BD was the diameter of the circle, and we know all the terms. So I'm not going to go through all the terms today. Or do you all want me to go through all the terms? Because I don't have all my terms, let's be honest here, so I'll be doing it off from memory. Or you want me to go through the terms, so you all know them. Why isn't it chat if you want me to walk through the terms? What I can remember? Let me see what I can remember. Let me see how many terms I know off the top of my head. Now, the thing with circle terms is that it's not like if I ask you to name all the persons in your class, it may not be something you could do at the top of your head, or maybe if you could visualize where they sit down, you could run through and name them. But or name all the persons in your in Form 5. You might be able to name everybody in the Form 5 in your school. Somalia is really close, so you could name 2 people. So some of the real popular students could probably name more, but nobody here could probably name all the people in Form 5. I couldn't name all the students in Form 5 when I was in Form 5. All? Nah, most likely not all. But if you see them anyway, you're gonna know, hey, that fella from my school in Form 5. That's why you need to learn the circle terms. So when you're watching the 8 of them or the 9 or 10, depending on how much your teacher give you, it's not like you're watching them like, oh my God, I need to memorize. And yes, you need to memorize how to state what theorem it is you're using. So you learn that off, you write that off. But when you're doing it in the exam, it's more like you see it and then it brings up it comes to remembrance. It brings back, it comes out, right? So it's not like you need to have it on call like that, but you should know exactly how to state it, okay? If the screen is blurry, press the settings icon, go on quality, set it to advanced or 1080p. Okay, so the first most popular term, all of these things that I'm drawing on the screen here, I need you to imagine them as the best circles you ever seen in your life, right? One term is that if I draw a diameter and it passes through the diameter, then any angle I make there, if I do the angle like this, or I do the angle like this, or I do the angle even quite down here, so a triangle. The triangle in the semicircle is 90 degrees. Now, I'm not going to take up all the time and write all the reasoning for each one of them. Now, you can check it on my video, Circle Terms. It's probably the third most watched video on the channel or something like that, right? Then I have this next theorem, where if I give it a common chord, and a chord is any line touching, connecting the circumference of a circle to the next part on the circumference. So a line segment touching the circumference twice. If you make the angle like this, you subtend an angle from that chord. Anywhere else you try to make an angle, you'll end up making equal angles there. So how much we have so far? 1, 2. Let me come up with the next one. So another real popular basic one that shows up very regularly is if and all you can tell me what you think going to happen in this one. If I draw an angle to the center here, right, the center of the circle, and then I decide to use this from this same chord here, create another angle to the circumference. Now the angle could be like this, the angle could be like this, but it's just another angle and it's going up to the circumference this time. What this rule states? Sorry for the shakiness. The pen is slip on the iPad screen. Well, this rule is that the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So like if this was 10, this is 20. It's very simple. So like if I call this x, this is 2x. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. What's another rule? Another one. Another rule. If I decided to create a cyclic quadrilateral, that's a cyclic quadrilateral, or this is a cyclic quadrilateral. Anytime you have a four-sided figure inside a circle and it touching all the vertices touching the circumference of the circle, a cyclic quadrilateral, it doesn't need to look like a square. It doesn't need to look like it could look really weird. It could look like a tiny piece there and then go big here. But once it's four sides, a four-sided figure, the opposite angles in the cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. So like this angle plus this angle will always add up to 180 degrees, right? So 180 degrees. Opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180 degrees. All of that from memory, boy, that not bad. I could come up with for number 5. So if I have a tangent, if I have a chord and I decide to bisect the chord, so I go from the center of the chord to the center of the circle, this angle over here is always going to be 90 degrees. Another, by the way, and I'm not too sure if this is a term in itself. If I have a radius and a tangent, the angle between the radius and the tangent is always 90 degrees, right? Always 90 degrees. Some people call this is a term, always 90 degrees. What else can I think of? So that technically 6. I put 6 here. I put him 6. 7. What about if these 7 and 8, I'll do external stuff. So if I have a point outside of a circle like this, and I decide to connect the points to the circle using tangents like that, 2 sides. So it creates a tangent there, creates a tangent there. Tangents touch the circle once, right? What we'll find happening, what we will notice happening is that from here to there is the same distance as from here to there. So it creates, in essence, an isosceles triangle. You all seen that? An isosceles triangle, the base angles are equal. So the 2 tangents from an external point outside of a circle connecting to the circumference will create an isosceles triangle. The lengths are the same. And another really interesting term that is used a lot is this fact that if I have a chord, right, and from the chord I make a tangent, from the chord I make a tangent with the point of one of the chords. You see this angle here? This angle is equal to the opposite angle in the alternate segment, in the next segment. So it doesn't matter where I put this angle again. It doesn't matter where I put this angle. If I put this angle over there, this angle will be equal to that angle. This one is actually called the alternate segment theorem. So the angle between a chord and a tangent is equal to the opposite angle in the triangle. So we run through like 8 here. Did I leave out anyone? I feel like I leave out a simple one that it's come all the time. Let me just brainstorm a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're bound to see that 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I remember any little other ones, by the way, you could go to my video to get the complete list, right? And there's like about 3 or 4 little extra, I wouldn't call them terms, but extra little small things that you need to know, like base angles in the isosceles triangle are equal. What's the next one I vote by? I remember it just now. So in this one, I will say the reason, but in the exam, you need to write it out, right? You need to literally write it out. All right, for the first one, I'll give you an example of how to write it out. So what is the angle BCE? What is that angle, BCE? Now, because AE is a straight line, BCE is going to be what? BCE is equal to 180 degrees. Uh-huh. 180 degrees. Just a second, eh? I have to watch some this. Apparently, I don't have the app to. You might have to send a picture. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, buddy. A little delay. So BCE is equal to 180 degrees minus the 78 degrees, which is 102 degrees. Yes. And you must state your reason. So this is your working, so you get 1 mark here. But the reason is, since angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees, and the angles on the straight line was BCA plus BCD, which we trying to find was 180 degrees. So I like to call the angles, call them out when I'm doing it, right? So you understand how to collect your 2 marks there? Must give the reason. Oh, you're supposed to change the slide. Must give the reason and sorry about the question. And sorry about that. So you must show the reason. This is what I said. BCE. BCE is this angle here. And I needed to subtract 78 from the whole 180 to get BCE. So I got the first one. And I stated the reason and the calculation. BDE is this guy over here. Now, this is not the center, so you can't use no center talk. But what you all think BDE is? For those of you all who figured out that BDE is also 66, big up you. It is also 66, and this is like the bunny ears one where you just have to, yeah. That's because since normally I write the reasoning before, I don't know why I keep writing the reason after right now. Since angles from a common chord in the same segment are equal. So since angles from a common chord, or you could say subtended from a common chord in the same segment. Segment is what happens when you divide a circle using a chord. You get one segment, you get a next segment. So this is a chord. This is one angle, and this is the next angle. They are equal. So since they are equal, BDE is also equal to 66. Well done, Marissa. Well done, well done. And I will show what angles I'm talking about. So BAE must be equal to BDE, which is what I tried to find, which is equal to 66. Reasons and calculations equal max. And then I want angle DBE. So since I know this is 90, it was given, but I could also find that out by saying this is a diameter, and angles from a diameter formed from a diameter equal 90 degrees. But I know the angles in a triangle, or sum of angles in a triangle equal 180 or add up to 180 degrees. Therefore, BDE, or no, DBE, you all seen DBE? You understand how these angle things work, right? DBE is this guy. Will have to be equal to 180 degrees minus 66 plus 90, which is how much? 24 degrees. This was an easy one. If you want to see tougher ones, you can check my video on cycle terms. And let me go forward. Slide 4. Let A, B, and C be 3 flagpoles. The bearing of A from B is 50. The bearing of C from A is 140. AB is 12 and AC is 5. Find the length BC. All right, so what rule are we going to use to find the length BC, folks? How are we going to find the length BC? So this is an identification of either the sine rule or cosine rule. This is bearings, by the way. And to do the cosine rule, everything good, right? With everybody. To do the cosine rule, you need to know the angle, right? So that's like the angle. I need to know that angle. You need to know the 2 arms sandwiching the angle. And then usually what it is you're trying to find out is the little stick hole up here. So the cosine rule normally involves 3 sides. Well, it involves 3 sides and the angle. And I'm basically smelling out that I could figure out whatever this angle is. I could figure out what that angle is. How can you get what that angle is, ladies and gentlemen? So the most underestimated thing in bearings is this. Let's go to slide 5. Most underestimated thing in bearings is this. Let me show you. All you know about that? All you know about these angles? This is the most underestimated thing in bearing. So you need to know this. And you also need to pay attention to this trick with bearings. Extend the north. Extend the knot. So extensions very important in bearings. So like if you have a knot and you see something here, remember you can extend it all the way down to. Remember that might just save you the mark next week. So in this first part, in number 1, this involves angles in a parallel line situation. What it does is that this same setting is repeated over here. Let me show you what I mean. This angle is equal to this angle. This angle is equal to this angle. Well, let me name them something different. Let me say this is A, B, C, D, and this is PQRS. PQRS. So B is actually equal to Q. You see that? Because it's in the same setup. And we call them corresponding. But B is also equal to C because it's behind each other. And we call them vertically opposite. But B is also equal to R because it's corresponding with Q and behind Q is R. So B is equal to R, but we also have a word for that. We call them alternate. Why is in the chat if you're going to do that? You're going to do that. We call this vertically opposite, this one, this situation. And the first situation was supplementary. I don't know this. I don't know this. Supplementary. Because it's useful in this bearings thing, by this bearings. Bearings is like any top 3 in terms of hardest things in maths. And you will see situations where these things taking place, like what? A is vertically opposite to D. A is not supplementary, corresponding. Why did I say supplementary? My bad. Right? Anybody correct, man? Corresponding. So B is corresponding with Q. A would be corresponding with P. Yeah, things like that. Corresponding. And there's 2 more that come in really handy. So remember to extend the knot, right? There's a tip. 2 more that come in really handy in this is, well, let me just say 1 more. 2 more. We know that B and D, if you watch that situation from across there, B and D, E plus D is equal to 180 degrees, folks. And you call that angles in a straight line. Yeah, from primary school, angles in a straight line. However I spell straight, HT, GHT, GHT, straight line. Angles in a straight line are supplementary. Supplementary, yes. Supplementary is the word here when I want to say add up to 180. And the next thing is look out for this kind of box setting. You see angle D here and angle Q here. There's a word for that. You see how they're kind of trapped with each other here? So we call them co-interior. Co-interior angles. And yeah, C and Q would be alternate. Somebody asked that? Yeah, C and Q alternate. Co-interior angles are supplementary as well, add up to 180 degrees. C and Q is alternate, isn't C and Q alternate angles? C and Q. B and R also alternate. Yeah, so C and Q alternate, B and R alternate, A is alternate with S. Yeah. All right, let's go back to the question now. So we know some things. We know in things. Because usually in the beginning of the question, you have to figure out an angle to be able to use the cosine rule or the sine rules here. You have to use one of them previous concepts, right? So we're really trying to figure out this angle here. But I know this is 50. So can you tell that this must be 130? What rule let me know that is 130 one time? What rule lets me know that one time? Well, if this is 50, this angle X here, not. This angle X, 50 plus X is equal to, hey, none of that. Without that diagram just pop out from just so by. 50 plus X must be equal to 180 degrees. Why? Because the co-interior, remember I tell you when you look out for that box strap kind of thing. Now we know the north poles are parallel to one another. This north have to be parallel to this north. So that's what we have there now. We have that situation taking place. So these angles are co-interior. They must add up to 180 degrees. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So x must be equal to 180 minus 50, which is 130 degrees. Since 50 plus, hey, I can't name this x because I have x there already. Let's call it A. We're just making up things out here, boy. Since 50 degrees and A are co-interior angles. So this is what I like to do. I like to draw a little small sketch before I begin the question. So like I could directly examine and I could rename things that I want to rename to be able to apply quick algebraic maths to it, right? So I'll call this A and they will realize what I'm talking about. And it's like you're describing yourself really nicely because you're getting a mark for explanation. So we needed to find the length of B. Hey, wait, let me make sure it's another easier way to do this because why are they giving me 2 marks for that? Find the length BC, and I really see an easier way. I feel like a 3 marks approach there, boy. Find the length BC. Maybe we might figure out that this is 90 degrees. Maybe, because if there is 90 degrees, then yeah, 5, 12, 13 triangle. Maybe, let me check. So the angle there, and let's call that angle BAC. BAC must be equal to 360 minus 130 plus 140. 130 plus 140 is how much are there? 270. So it is 90 degrees. So we just, did they say that somewhere earlier? No, they didn't. So we actually had to show them that we figured out that this is a 90-degree angle. And if this is a 90-degree angle, if this is 5, this is 12, this is 13. That's a Pythagorean triple. So that is Pythagoras' theorem. We actually didn't need to bring out the whole cosine rule here. We could still do it and you'll get it correct. You'll get this, but you'll go through a whole set of thing to get 13. So since this is 90 degrees, we could just say, this is 90, this is 12, this is 5. Let's call this CAB now. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So really and truly, I should not call us that angle that was interested in theta. A, I should have called it theta. Since I come back and use A here. Anyhow, so C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Excuse me. This is Pythagoras' theorem. The square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the square of the other two sides. And we do this already. So C squared is equal to 12 squared plus 5 squared. And the end, this will be 169. So C is equal to the square root of 169, which is 13 centimeters. And then we need to determine the value of angle X if this is 13 centimeters. So if this is 90, and we're trying to figure out the value of angle X here, folks. That is very simple. That is extremely simple. Maybe I could go on the next page and just pull up that. Page 6, maybe. Let's make a page 6. Ta-da. Now we go and figure out X now. What we get so far? So far, we know that this is 13. This thing just changed on me all of a sudden. So we know that this is 13 centimeters. We know that this is 130 degrees. And we're trying to figure out X. Now you could go ahead and we know this is 90 as well. Some of you all maybe 130. Oh gosh. This diagram real fighting man earlier. 130 degrees, right? So we know that this is 90. So some of you all may go ahead and figure out angles here using some sine rule or maybe SOHCAHTOA. And then when you get this angle, maybe you want to subtract. Nah, don't go and do all of that. Don't go and do all of that at all. Remember, you have some part is 1 mark they want. So for part 2, you have this setting taking place. You have a noughts and a noughts. You have this line going so, and you know this is 140. Can you figure out what this angle, oh no, can you figure out what this angle is? X had to be 40 degrees again because you have a next co-interior setup. Co-interior angles are supplementary. You see how useful it is? And it helps to know what it is you're dealing with so you can explain it properly. Some of you all understand why it's 40, but you don't know how to write it properly. So co-interior angles are supplementary. So therefore the 140 plus the x is equal to 180. So you can see x is equal to 40. 180 minus 140, 40 degrees. Why isn't it short if you understand everything so far? And then we needed to calculate the bearing of B from C. From C. So it means you're watching at C and you need to go all the way around and we got that bearing right there. Bearing starts at the north and goes all the way around, connecting the line between the two tongues, the 2 points of interest, whatever. And it goes in a clockwise direction. Excuse me. So we need that angle. We already know what x is, so we can take it away from 360 and we could also figure out what this angle is. How do we figure out what that angle is, people? So we clearly need to figure out an angle inside here. Let's call that theta 2, since we called this one theta 1 recently. So theta 2, that angle, can be found by using a simple little, we know this is 5, this is 12, this is 13. Could use a simple little Pythagoras or some, Sukato or some kind of thing to find it. You don't need to use the sine rule. You could also use the sine rule, but you'll end up in the same boat. So this angle, we know all these sides, so we could use any one. Let's use tan. So we'll use the 5 and the 12. Tan of theta is the opposite to a right over the adjacent. And that's 12 over 5. Tan of theta is that. So theta is the tan inverse of 12 over 5. Can you all tell me what you get with that? Theta, tan inverse of 12 over 5. Change my mode to normal, shift tan inverse of 12 divided by 5 is 67. Can you get that? 67.38. 67.38. That's what I'm looking like. And that's the answers. Tan inverse 67.38 or 67. Let's go with the 67.38 for now. So therefore, and they want the bearing, usually there's either 1 decimal place or 3 significant figures. So therefore, the bearing of B from C would have to be the 360 degrees minus the x, which is 40, plus the 67.3 that we just get, which is, let's add 40 to this. And let's say 360 minus that recent answer, 252.6. 0.6 degrees. So I don't even need to use any cosine rule or sine rule here. This question I get away from using the big boys. 252.6 degrees to 1 decimal place. And that is it. Next question. The diagram below not drawn to scale shows a circle with a quadrilateral. A cyclic quadrilateral, W, X, Y, Z, whose points lie on the circumference of the circle. Angle XYZ is 48. All right. And angle, big on there. Angle WYZ is 16. So I can get that part of the question out because 19, sorry, it's written there. So determine each of the following angles. Show working on ZXW. ZXW. Z, where Z is by? ZXW. That is this. Like that. ZXW. All right, how we figure another angle? Well, we do one just like that already, you know. Angles subtended from a common chord. So where's ZXW? Common chord in the same segment are equal. Everybody seen it? Therefore, ZXW must be equal to ZYW, which is equal to 19 degrees. This comes from the same chord that this comes from. So they're equal to each other. What about YVZ? YVZ is where, boy? YVZ. This. Are we figuring out what that one is, boy? This angle over here. So anybody with ideas to figure out YVZ? What else do we know? Do we know any diameters, anything? Oh, yes. So YVZ. Well, we don't really know the diameter of center, but maybe we could try and bring in the 48. What are 48 doing for you? Well, the 48 on the next side, and I see like it's a symmetrical shape. So I'm assuming that this is 48 as well. And I'm not really assuming. I know that is 48 because come from the same chord, bro. Come from the same chord. Come from the same chord. So let's put in that step for part 2. Because you see that going and make a triangle for you and one. You're bound to get something with triangle. All each angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So angle YZV, see if you can figure out what the angle is equal to angle, I'm going to put angle YZ. V is the same thing, but I want to put it as X to really drive the point home. So angle YZX is equal to angle YWX, which is equal to 48 degrees. And I put my little reason again, and since, and I put back the same reason, angles from a common chord in the same segment are equal, blah, blah, blah. And since I know that's 48, angles in a triangle, equal 180 degrees, or add up to 180 degrees. So now I see what I want, YVZ is going to be 180 minus the sum of the other two, 19 plus 48, which is, they're telling me it's 113, which sounds really good. And last one, XVY, this angle over here. How do we figure out what that is? And that's extremely easy. XVY has to be equal to 180 degrees minus 113. And I'm not writing the reason, but you'll have to write it. Because it's the angle in a straight line, XVY, right? So when I subtract that, I should get what, 67 degrees. So these circle terms not so bad. Sometimes it can come a little horrible. So practice with my video on circle terms. You could see some of the tougher ones there too. Next slide is angle of depression. Hey, the angle of what some of you all. All right, bad joke. The angle of depression of an airplane measured from a control tower PQ of height 93.6 meters is 54. The most common mistake, all right, PQ, when the plane moving along the, it moves from point A. So the plane moves from point A to point B. So this is the plane here. I'm putting some big wheels on that plane, boy. And the plane moved from point A to point B over here. That's the plane there. Well, when the plane moves along the runway from point A to point B and this stops, the angle of depression becomes 23.6. The distance from P to point A is 5.7 meters. So, okay, you need to complete the diagram to represent this information. You don't need to draw the plane, but you need to put in the numbers. So, the most common mistake people is start to put angle of depressions from here and think. Big mistake, boy. Or this for angle of depression from there. Nah. They say angle of depression. So if they say angle of depression, you know it's going from up top because you're depression. You're going from up to you're going lower now. But if it was elevation, you're going up, you'd put it down here. The angle of elevation will be down there. But the angle of elevation and angle of depression are alternate angles there, by the way. One will go here and one will go here. See how they alternate each other, but they are equal. So the angle of elevation and angle of depression are equal to each other. But they always take place with the horizontal, and they are usually acute angles. The acute angle we're looking for with the horizontal. They take place with the horizontal. That's the so most important thing to remember. And usually in angle of elevation and angle of depression, we don't get sine rule or cosine rule. Usually we get normal SOHCAHTOA and Pythagoras theorem. You don't really get sine rule and cosine rule in this. So if you see this, don't get frightened if you had that you didn't use cosine rule. Normally it doesn't have to use that. So let's put in the missing things. Can you see that the 54 goes here? And that the 23.6 should really end up here? That making sense to everybody? The angle of depression started off. Oh, by the way, this is a height of 93.6. And now we just put in everything, 93.6. I put in the original angle of depression. I put in the new angle of depression as it moved to point B. I put in the distance. Determine the distance from control tower to point A. And as the first question, so I put in the information. $408 people watching, by big up only 408 people in the live. How is the studying going, folks? 115.7. I have 115. Oh, the distance from P to A is 115.7. Oh, my bad, my bad. The distance from P to A is 115.7. So this distance. That's not, let me read that. When the plane moves along, the angle of depression becomes 23.6. Yes, and the distance from point P to point A is 115.7. So we should put 115.7 here and not there. Well, it'd be nice if they had put it in the middle there, because they never really do that before. All right. And then we need to determine the distance from the control tower to point A. And we assuming it's from the base of the control tower, right? So this distance here, Q to A. So you're seeing this is nothing. This is a nothing question. You could do everything in this question and just collect. You could just collect real marks. All these next 1, 2, 3 marks, they're going to make you find this distance, which is the usual thing that they make you do with angle of elevation. Find that little piece of distance. I feel to leave that for you to do now. All right. Let's just do it real fast, because this board fighting me right now, boy. Yeah, people, that distance QA can be found by first finding this angle. And tell me if you agree with me that this angle is actually 26 degrees. So QPA is equal to 90 degrees minus the 54. Why am I saying 26? Should be 36, which is 36 degrees. I use 18 in my mind when I was subtracting this. 36 degrees. Agreed? And since I know that angle, I could find QA. So I can find QA by using adjacent and hypotenuse, which is cosine. So the cos of the theta, and I have a situation where this is theta, this is 93.6, this is 115. So the cos of the theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, cos of theta. That symbol there, theta, is what we use to represent angles frequently. So the cos of 36, wait, I don't want to use adjacent. I don't want to, I'm trying to figure out QA. What is going on with me? Am I short circuiting? So I will use sine instead. Let's say sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. They give me one too much information in this. They didn't need to give me something. Like I didn't need to know that 115.7. Yeah? Anyhow, we don't care. We can take that extra information. So the sine of theta is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the sine of 36 is equal to the opposite, which is what I'm trying to find, QA, over the hypotenuse 115.7. I hope that it works out both ways because that would be a problem. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. 115.7 times sine of 36 is equal to approximately 68. So QA is equal to 68 meters. It's like 68.00 or 68.01. 68 meters. You all getting this? And then similarly, I could work out Q to B by doing the same thing. But this time I will work with this 23.6 angle. And this 23.6 angle will give me 66.4. So QB, I will say and instead I will use the adjacent, the 93.6. The cos of 66.4 is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse, skipping that part, 93.6 of, I use cos, I use tan. Oh boy. So the tan of 66.4 is equal to the adjacent in 93.6 over the opposite. This will be this full length. So I'm considering this whole big triangle now. I feel like I didn't explain this like my usual good way. So let me just recap everything that I do. The first triangle I looked at was this one, kind of a little scrappy. And I found the missing angle. And using that missing angle plus a side, I was able to use sine to find QA. Right? Can you use Pythagoras theorem? Yes, you could use Pythagoras theorem as well. Because they have two sides. That was say they give me too much information in this question. They're supposed to leave all this or leave all that. Anyhow, or leave all the angle, one of the angles or something. So what next? Next, I'm looking at this bigger triangle. This angle here is 66.4. And if you don't know why I get the 66.4, I just minus the 236 from 90. I get 66.4. Now that I know this angle, I'm going to use this angle on this side to figure out this side, which is with tan. So at the end of the day, QB is going to be equal to 93.6 divided by tan of 66.4. (93.6) divided by tan of 66.4 is 40. Tan is opposite over adjacent. I ordered a little wrongly. Should I write more formula to begin with? Tan of theta, I just squeezing anything here, is opposite over adjacent. And the opposite is what I'm actually trying to find. The QB was supposed to go on top. That's the mistake that I made. So I'll end up with QB, opposite over adjacent. So I'll end up with QB over the 93.6. And this will give me that QB tan 93.6 multiplied by tan of 66.4 is the answer. Oh boy. Why this question make me make mistakes for? At least I see it. Is equal to 214.24. So we get this. This was like 0.01. And now we can figure out this part here, calculate the distance moved by the plane, this BA here. So that BA will just need to subtract. The distance BA is equal to 214.24 minus 68.01 minus 68.01, which is 146.23. And that sounds reasonable based off of how acute these angles was. The diagram not drawn to scale, so you can't really see it, but 146.23, and it is in meters. So that is it for that question. What a question. What a question. A very interesting question. I'll come back to this question and work it out for yourself and see if you understand. All right, let me see if we can do one more, because I'm real sleepy. Stayed up and watching a match and knock out halftime, all kind of thing. The diagram below, not drawn to scale, shows a circle with center O. The points A, B, C, and D lie on the circumference of the circle. Determine, given a reason for each step of your answer. Oh yes, father. The angle OBD. This is a real easy thing, boy. I'll just tell me these angles real fast. OBD. Somebody asks you, can you teach how to use all the functions of the calculator? Just search Cohen's bring a calculator and you can see a whole series on sharp, and then you will see something on the Casio. I recommend the Casio. So OBD. So where's OBD? OBD is over here. This is 44. Oh, they did that term that I missed out earlier. They did a little silly that term that I missed out. Let me go back to the theorem page. What page it was on? 4. The page where I was writing down theorems 3. So there's the little theorem that I missed out here. So if I have a triangle, right? And the triangle made with 2 radius. It's obvious the triangle is an isosceles triangle, and all the implications that come with that must be observed. So this angle will be equal to the angle. So if a chord is connected to the center of a circle, it will make an isosceles triangle. Or angles made with 2 radii that touching the circumference of the circle are isosceles triangle. Or you catch it drift, right? 2 radii, so it's an isosceles triangle. What page we on? We are on page 8. Page 9, sorry. So OBD is 44, and you all stated the reason because it's an isosceles triangle. 2 radii, base angles equal. DOB, this angle up top. Well, that angle up top, you'll need to add the 2 together. So add the 44, you get 88, and take it away from 180. 180, take away 88 is nothing but 92 degrees. Good job. And you need to state the reason. Again, all the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees, so you subtract the 2 angles that you know. DOB, we have already done that, this. DAB, DAB. DAB is this angle up here. What you are getting for that? Another one of the really popular small rules. DAB, nobody put the answer yet, boy? Somebody multiply by 2. Don't mean to laugh. Not a good thing for your math teacher to be laughing at you. How cruel. I apologize. But oh my gosh, you don't multiply, bro. Is divide if you're going this way, the angle getting smaller. But what people is think is, okay, this angle looking smaller than this one. But no, this is the thinner angle here. So angle is measuring the degree of turning. You have to turn less here compared to there. So you'll have to divide. The angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So this is 46 degrees. Well done, those of you who look at the 46 degrees. This was 44 degrees. This was 92 degrees. What is BCD? This angle over here. So they just really combine all the rules in a very easy, simple way. This question wasn't very creative. BCD must be equal to, what rule are we going to use? It may be hard to see. One of the things to look out for as soon as you reach in the exam next week, Wednesday, it is, whenever it is, the 17th, is cyclic quadrilaterals. In fact, when you're doing, I'll bet you and die here, boy. That's why we finishing with this question. When you're doing I want to say, when you are doing the paper, the first thing to do when you do your paper after you say a little prayer and thing, and you ask God to see it through. Turn to question 9. Turn to question 9 and watch it and see if you see any little rule quick and write it down. Trust me on that one, and then go back and do your question. So question 9, part A, the circle theorem question. That's a little advice, a little secret advice that I tell my students all the time. It's help. It's really help. It's really help. So the first thing, you know, some people do this as well. Like when you're reaching any exam, you just, some things that you know, you just kind of barely holding on to in your brain. It's two brain cells holding up that whole piece of memory there. You just kind of write it off one time quick, even if you didn't see the paper, you just dump, your brain dump some stuff. That's what you want to do for the circle theorem questions. Like, yeah, before the exam, if you're that kind of person, you take a look at the circle theorems. So you have, again, one last good look. You throw that in your bag and you run into the exam room, and as soon as you reach that circle, as soon as they give out that paper, you turn to that circle theorem question and you watch it and you write down any little rule you see. And one of the rules to write down is the quadrilateral. The opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are equal. Opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are equal. So, so therefore, this angle is going to be 136 degrees. Well done, it's smart. 136 degrees. Because the opposite and it's a cyclic quadrilateral. It's not looking too quadrilateral, but it is a four-sided figure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So it works. And I can do circle theorems whole day. I could sit down here and do circle theorems whole day. But see, when you come to these kind of things, it's annoying. You notice I didn't use no cosine rule or sine rule, and I want to pull up the class right now. What we gonna do about that, boy? Feel Monday for that, you know? So I have the long crash course session. That long crash course session is coming Saturday. So 100 and something students signed up for that, along with my class, which is way more. My classes. So that crash course will not be lit. You can still sign up. Between you have today and tomorrow to sign up to do classes in the student hub real easy. You can sit down home and sign up. Your parents can do that from the office and sign up for classes. Right? So message the admin now, message this number, and sign up for if you could sign up for the 12-hour crash course. It's $300. It's $300, and you're inside that crash course. We'll be going for 12 hours, and I'll be going through the theory. After that, I'm not finished with YouTube. The exam is on Wednesday, so most likely Monday I'm gonna do something for the people, and it will be a little longer. But Monday I'll be looking for a past paper, like how we doing questions, which is the fastest way to learn. On Saturday, it's more in-depth, kind of going through all the different points in the syllabus. Study this, learn this way. This is something that comes. That's how I'll be teaching on Saturday. So if I use questions, it will take way too long. So to do every single thing using questions. So I'll be teaching from theory perspective on Saturday. So I am looking forward to that, and I hope to put down a good sleep tonight so that my energy gonna be good for Saturday. All right, Talia. Should we do? Not all the vertices was touching in the last one. Let me check. Yes, all the vertices touching. What going on with Talia, boy? All the vertices touching in the cyclic quadrilateral here. All of them touching. Should I do this? This is finely length RT. Easy stuff. Easy stuff. Maybe let me see the next one. Next easy circle terms. Some bearings, something. So let's look up bearings. Look up bearings, Kerwin Springer bearings on the channel now, and go and study that, because I didn't get to do a real core cosine rule and sine rule. I tapping out for now. I might go and sleep or something. I owe the physics people, don't worry and forget. Biology tomorrow at 10. That is already scheduled. So we'll be doing the bio tomorrow at 10. But physics by? Anyhow, good thing physics exam is way down near the ending of the exam season. Love and blessings, folks. Hold it down.